Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
From her rich and fertile valleys to the shores of her icy seas, from her fields and farms and shellfish beds and her many nurseries, for the finest of her flavor, for the freshest by far, choose the things Alaskans bring to the market where you are. Products that we're proud to call our own, and it's all Alaska grown.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. On starting Monday, actually, KUAC will start broadcasting again at 5:30 p.m. on 9.4. Otherwise, APB, ARCS, 5:30 p.m. for the show. 7:30 is always for 360 North and Alaska Public Media, 5 a.m. the following morning. And moving on to the advisories, we've got some out along the Arctic coast in the form of high surf advisories out through tomorrow night until 6 a.m. Monday. And that's for a big Arctic storm, Arctic low pressure area, and gusty west winds, actually the main center well off to the north, but enough west winds here, 30-35 knots to kick the seas up to 10 feet or more, and that's going to make for high surf there along the coast out through tomorrow night into early Monday. And for the satellite imagery, we've got low pressure off the north coast right there spinning, and that continues to pull showers right into the southeast coast throughout the day today. And there's actually more back out here. Don't be fooled by the look of this, where it looks like a lot of clear skies. There's actually a lot more cloudiness and showers back out through here that are going to be kind of rotating up with heaviest amounts in the south, but there'll be showers continuing tonight and tomorrow all along the North Gulf Coast. Some breaks here over the Copper River Basin and locally on up across the eastern interior, allowing temperatures to rise into the lower 60s this afternoon. Also some breaks southern Cook Inlet there and around Bristol Bay. Low pressure back to the west here toward Kuskokwim Bay, and that pulling some moisture southwestward and then beginning to rotate it back in toward Bristol Bay. I thought that would have happened a little sooner than it did, so you just kept with the gusty winds up to 30-35 miles an hour across the peninsula today from the northwest, and showers with rain back up across the Yukon Delta over to Holy Cross, McGrath getting some rain, kind of a trough through here, lifting northward with more showers, as you can see right there, coming across the Kenai Peninsula today and Cook Inlet up to the Alaska Range there and pushing northward here this afternoon, and up to the north front coming southeastward there from the Arctic onto the Arctic coast and then trailing back through something like this. That brought some gusty west winds up along the coast there around Barrow, along with some snow, light amounts of precipitation, and that dropping down in toward the Bering Strait this afternoon. Out to the west, next system pushing in, a lot of clouds. Pretty good cloud shield extending all the way far west of the main frontal band there with kind of a warm front, or there's a warm front right through here with some cirrus dropping down into the eastern Aleutians. And on the chart today, gales out west with that front there, gusts of 50 miles per hour with rain and fog at Shimmy and Attu. Otherwise, just clouds, still pretty gusty winds southwest up to 35 or so there for Adak, and then lighter winds to the east here, higher pressure up through here, and a warm front advancing northeastward there into the Bering Sea. Low pressure here, about 999 millibars, and that's got some good northwest winds with a higher pressure out to the west, northwesterlies or northerlies turning northwest, anywhere from 25 to as high as 45 miles an hour in gusts there from say Hooper Bay across Macoriac on down across the Alaska Peninsula. Lighter winds there for Kodiak Island. And again, that band of showers right through here coming northward across south central Alaska, Cook Inlet area, and scattered showers up over the interior with more in the way of sun here in the east and more in the way of clouds back to the west. And that front dropping down from the Arctic there, 980 millibar low there just on the north edge of the map. That brought some snow to the Arctic coast, mainly the central areas, warmer conditions, mixtures, or just a little bit of rain, but amounts quite light up there. And that trailing back there across into the northwest or into the Chukchi Sea. And then the low pressure here over the northeast Gulf of Alaska. Again, showers here, but light winds over the panhandle, another trough moving through. More moisture back through here. That's going to be rotating in tonight and tomorrow there, keeping it showery, but they'll gradually become less extensive with each passing day or 12-hour period. And so for tonight, mostly cloudy, scattered showers across the entire southeast coast, but winds will remain light for the next couple of days down there, and the precipitation won't be all that heavy where it does occur. Otherwise, drying out here over southern Alaska, just some leftover showers after midnight tonight up to the north toward the Alaska Range, and that getting picked up a little bit by this weakening cold front as it comes south of the Brooks Range, leaves all its moisture behind to the north, or it pushes off to the east. A little bit could sneak down into the northern Koyukuk Valley. Another trough brings more wind and some light snow to the central Arctic coast there, maybe as far south as Point Hope, but dry conditions here at the Bering Strait, right down the coastline. That rain tonight begins to gradually toward morning become a little more showery. The winds staying gusty through the night for the peninsula there start to drop off a little bit, but gale warnings tomorrow still exist for the areas southwest of Kodiak Island, but those too will be diminishing late in the afternoon. High pressure ridge pushing eastward here, so lighter winds to the peninsula, dry conditions, maybe some sunshine right up into the southwest interior. Dry day, south central Alaska tomorrow, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, really all of the interior, just a few scattered showers right through this portion of the state, and that's about it. Pretty isolated actually, and then westerly winds continue, and the Arctic coast may get grazed with a few skiffs of snow, but nothing terribly significant at all. And scattered showers becoming a little more isolated, maybe some clearing periods showing up there for the southeast coast. Out to the west, southerly gales, 40 knots, gusts 50, 55 miles an hour, pushing in toward mainly Adak with the rain, and eventually Atka as well. Good south to north flow here, pushing that warm front northward there across the Pribilofs later tonight, and then right up to St. Lawrence Island with some rain tomorrow, maybe some sprinkles down across the Yukon Delta coast. But again, just inland areas here under high pressure, and that holds through Monday. Mostly sunny skies here over southern Alaska down to Kodiak Island with light wind conditions. Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound, partly sunny call with probably a shower-free day there for the southeast coast. There could be some lingering showers here over the southern areas, but look for a little more sunshine and less shower activity for Monday afternoon. This warm front, moisture spreading eastward and westerly flow aloft, could bring some light rain all the way to the eastern border there, but that's probably north of Eagle and into the Brooks Range, maybe a little bit heavier back here in the southern slopes of the mountains there, but staying dry along the Arctic coast. And this front pushing eastward here, pretty good gradients, so gale force southerlies, 35 to 40, maybe even 45 knots right up the coastline from the peninsula there across St. Lawrence Island, eventually working into the Bering Strait with the rain, and then breaking out the scattered showers behind that, and pretty good westerly southwest fetch of wind here coming in, so there could be some higher seas here along the southwest coast, say from Togiak Bay, maybe up into Kuskokwim Bay. High tides could be a little bit higher than they normally would be. And for the temperatures across the southeast coast this afternoon, Saturday, 58 Sitka and Klawock, a net up to 60 degrees today, otherwise lower 50s in the north, 54 Yakutat, 61 at McCarthy with some sunshine there, which extended in over toward Gulkana, mid to upper 50s for the North Gulf Coast. And about the same here, south central Alaska. A lot of clouds, especially this afternoon in the northern inlet, but again beginning to clear out down here to the southwest. 50s in the Tanana Valley, dropping into the 40s farther north at Bettles, just 41 this afternoon. Fort Yukon up to 48, Eagle 52, and a 39 Umiat Airfield, and 30s along the Arctic coast there, ahead of that front near 40 degrees from Ugnu-Kaparik over toward Barter Island, and back to the southwest here. Upper 30s, warm into the mid to upper 40s here across Kotzebue Sound and the Seward Peninsula, and that same temperature pattern right down the southwest coast. Of course, a lot of rain occurring through this area today from about McGrath, as I mentioned, over toward Holy Cross, Russian Mission, on down to Nunivak Island. And anyway, temperatures, St. Lawrence Island, 43 degrees there at Savunga and Campbell, 50 at St. Paul. Lower to mid 50s here for the central and western Aleutians, although Nikolsky just reached 48, otherwise lower 50s up the peninsula right on into King Salmon. And for the lows tonight, looks like 40s for the southeast coast, 30s and 40s here across the Copper River Basin, mostly in the 40s south central Alaska, upper 30s to lower 40s southwest interior, Bristol Bay a tad warmer, 40s for the Aleutians, teens and 20s for the Brooks Range, North Slope and Arctic coast. And that area for tomorrow, 20s to mid 30s for the highs up there, and 40s right through here, warming into 50s, Bristol Bay and the Aleutians, mid to upper 50s, increasing sunshine. Probably see some 60s showing up like Willow, Big Lake, maybe Talkeetna, as well as the Kenai Peninsula, mid to upper 50s for the southeast coast. And flying weather tomorrow, marginal VFR here for the Panhandle, and also some leftover along the Kenai Peninsula, maybe up the west side of Cook Inlet there over toward the mountains. IFR western Arctic coast, IFR the Yukon Delta, marginal VFR in the northern Bering Sea down in toward Bristol Bay. But going VFR here for much of the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, except for Shimio, that front IFR, that's going to be pushing eastward tomorrow afternoon in toward Adak, and then improving back to the west. Marginal VFR getting close to Nikolsky, up across the Pribilofs, right into Norton Sound, the southern Seward Peninsula. IFR still, western Arctic coast, advancing eastward to Nuiqsut, say, and then marginal VFR off to the east. VFR for the Brooks Range through the interior, maybe areas of marginal there along the mountains, but that's about it, and becoming VFR for the Panhandle. Passes, Anatuvik, VFR, Adigan, same forecast. Lake Clark and Merrill could be a little occasional marginal VFR, or occasional marginal VFR, otherwise VFR. And for rainy, that's a wishy-washy forecast. VFR for rainy, VFR for windy. Isabel occasionally marginal. Mentasta, same forecast there. And for Tanita, VFR. Portage, VFR. Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR at times in the morning, hopefully trending toward, well, we'll trend toward VFR in the afternoon. And for the freezing levels, again, that cold front coming in and then weakening. Cold air at the surface late tonight, down to the Brooks Range. Maybe a little to the south, 4,000 feet dropping down to this position, and also 4,000 feet there, that cold upper low over the southeast coast, bringing the snowfall levels down with it. Higher pressure, southerly winds pushing warmer air back into the central Bering Sea. And with that front, areas icing above 9,000 feet there. Coming into the Adak area, maybe possibly some there with that moisture spreading up to St. Lawrence Island. Really less of a threat there than it will be down over the Aleutians. Otherwise, icing free over the interior, and still some mixed icing possible above about 6,000 feet across the southern southeast coast. Jet stream, high pressure building here into the Bering Sea, coming into the west coast, upper level low still southwest of the southeast coast there, so still kind of upper trough right through here, keeping these showers going in that area. West northwesterlies up to 80 knots coming in across the North Slope and Brooks Range. And for 9,000 feet, westerlies 35 to 40 knots there along the Arctic coast, trending south and really light here from Amonic right up to Kivalina at 15, picking up to 25 there at St. Paul. 50 to 55 knot winds there in the central Aleutians. Northwesterlies 20 to 30 here, Aleutian Range, Kodiak Island area diminishing during the afternoon. Light winds for the Panhandle. 3,000 feet, a couple of lows here, but winds are very light over the eastern Gulf of Alaska, up into the southeast interior. West 35 to 40 on the Arctic coast. Northwest winds here, pretty brisk to start with, gradually diminishing through the afternoon. Big winds out here in the west there, 50 knots across central Aleutians right up into the Bering Sea. About 25 knots here approaching the southwest coast. And for turbulence, occasional moderate chop there, Sitkinak back to Chignik and that area there. Also occasional moderate chop there for the Kenai Peninsula, western Prince William Sound, southern western Alaska Range. And moderate chop from Point Lay, about Point Lane, maybe Wainwright, eastward to Demarcation Point, Kaktovik area, and also with that front coming into the central Aleutian areas, occasional moderate chop, all above about 6,000 feet. And after the break, I'll be back with the rain forecasts.
Welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and joining us once again is our good friend Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska. Thanks again for joining us, Eric. We really appreciate it, as always.
Happy to be here, Dave.
Thanks. And, you know, we're going to ask you some more satellite questions here, but, you know,
Okay.
Since you're a regular guest, we're going to give you a riddle this time, kind of a trick start to the show.
Okay.
How do you see a polar bear in a snowstorm?
Sounds like a challenging question because
Okay.
the polar bear is white and the snowstorm's white.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Well, in the world of satellite meteorology, you couldn't, because the spatial resolution of this instrument that we're going to talk about today has 375 meters resolution, and even the most well-fed polar bear will not be 375 meters across.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to run into such a
No, that'd be a
creature,
bad day.
would you? In the satellite meteorology world, the equivalent would be, how do you tell the difference between clouds and then an area that has no clouds but's covered by snow,
Right.
a piece of ocean that has no clouds but has sea ice? All three of these are white.
Right.
The snow, the clouds, the sea ice, it's all white. So how, using satellite data, can you tell someone where the clouds are and where the clear areas are? This is important for aviators. Mariners want to know, in the ocean there, this white stuff, is that sea ice or is that just a cloud? How do we tell the difference? And it turns out, if you look, say, at a picture of Alaska from the springtime, March or April, and it's high noon, so we're getting a lot of sunshine. If you were riding on a satellite with your human eye, look down, everything's white.
Right.
And we've got a picture of Alaska from early April, and we're seeing some of the lower elevations in south central Alaska are melting out, getting some brown ground there, but otherwise there's a whole lot of white on the image. What areas are cloudy, but what areas are clear and covered by snow or ice? It turns out that if we leave the visible spectrum behind a little bit. See, a satellite has multiple channels in the electromagnetic spectrum that it can look at. Part of that's visible light, what we see as humans, but there's a lot going on at other wavelengths. If we add in something that's called near infrared, what we couldn't quite see, but we're getting into that infrared territory, there's a magical property that we can exploit.
Secrets to find.
Oh yeah. This is actually powerful and almost magical, that at a slightly longer wavelength, when the sun shines down on Alaska and then it bounces off back to the satellite, at that near infrared wavelength, it turns out that snow and ice will absorb that wavelength, but liquid water, like liquid droplets in a cloud, will reflect it back. And that's not the way it works in visible. You know, visible, it just bounces off of all those targets the same. But at near infrared, snow and ice absorbs it, and the liquid will reflect it back. Liquid cloud droplets will do that. And so an image where everything looks white suddenly becomes colorful. And the way this recipe works is that the clouds look pink and the snow-covered ground and the ice-covered ocean look blue. Suddenly now, we're able to see the polar bear in the snowstorm. We're able to see where the clouds are and where the snow is and where the ice is. This is a powerful advantage. Consider the case zooming into the Bering Strait area. What if you were asked to brief a pilot who wanted to fly, say, from Kotzebue down to Savunga or Gamble and had to fly VFR, visual flight rules, so they had to stay out of the clouds? Could you use a satellite image where everything is white to provide that pilot any guidance?
It'd be pretty tricky.
Very tricky. And that's why we have to go to this other recipe where the all-white polar bear in the snowstorm becomes more colorful. And now we can tell the pilot, aha, this is a cloud you want to stay out of, but over here, sure, it looks white in the visible spectrum, but what we're doing, we'll show you, oh, this is just snow-covered ground, but it's clear, so you can fly right through there, visual flight rules. Same thing for a mariner who might want to get down to St. Lawrence Island, say, but it has to avoid the sea ice. This product has applicability there as well.
Wonderful.
It's an amazing new technology, so many new channels. The satellite that makes this imagery actually has 22 different channels that it looks at.
22 secret decoder rings.
22 secret decoder rings.
Okay. You know, I liken this to an activity I had in the car when I was growing up. We go on long car rides, and we do all the work in these activity books to, you know, stay calm, cool, and collected for our parents who were trying to get us across the state. But to get the answer, the real answer, you had to apply that red sheet to see the answer or the secret path or whatever the message was in that activity book to get you onto the next page. And it's also like a photography filter, right? If you're taking a lot of pictures, you can apply different colors to see different parts of that image. I mean, that sounds a lot like what you're talking about.
Oh, you know it. The information is in there all along. We just have to combine the channels in a way to reveal what's in there. And by the way, you're dating yourself. So you didn't have an iPad in the back of the car?
No, sir.
Right? Okay. Well, we have, lastly, for dessert, there's a great image of the same kind of recipe. We're looking at South Central Alaska the first week of January. In first week of January, the sun, even at noon, is really low on the horizon, barely up. And in this image, the fun thing is the shadow of Denali. We can see the shadow of Denali over a lower pink cloud deck.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And Denali at 20,000 feet casts a big shadow. So this is another, just for fun, kind of application here. This is called multispectral satellite imagery, and it's the future. And happily, the future is now.
Oh, that is fascinating. And 22 different secrets that can be revealed from just one satellite tool that's floating overhead. Eric, thanks so much for joining us again. We can't wait to have you back and telling us more secrets of satellite technology that are passing over us every single day, many times a day, over Alaska and helping us all the way in many different parts of our lives. So thanks so much for joining us again.
Well, happy to be here.
All right. And thank you for staying with us. We'll be back with a little more weather here in just a few minutes. And of course, we'll have more Alaska weather facts anytime online.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis showing an area right through here, some of which is 7 to 10 tenths concentration or greater. Otherwise, the outer edge here is just open water, less than a tenth. And from Point Franklin up toward Barrow, north of Point Franklin, it's about 20 nautical miles of the heavier concentration. And that, with the west winds, may move on shore there over the next couple of days. And then it's going to stay stuck there around Barrow on the coast where it presently is. And then for coastal forecast, light winds, light and variable up the entire coast there for the panhandle, but seas 7 to 10 feet, keeping the small craft advisories in place out there. Southeast 10 to 15 over the inside waters with 2 to 3 foot seas. And for Monday, swinging around to the north, higher pressure back out here to the west, so northwest and north 10 to 15. Still light though with 6 to 7 foot seas, so no small craft advisories on Monday here, anywhere for the Panhandle, North 15, Northern Lynn Canal, northwest at the same speed for Clarence Strait. Prince William Sound, northwest at 10, light west to northwest breeze, barely a breeze there for the North Gulf Coast. And then small craft advisories here, Kodiak Island, the Barrens, Kamishak Bay at 25 knots, light winds for Cook Inlet. And Monday, light variable winds here, Cook Inlet, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, really laying down pretty good. Southwesterlies at 15 from Kamishak Bay and Shelikof Strait. West 15 to 20 here, Kodiak Island, the Barrens. Bristol Bay northwest, starting out 25 knots tomorrow morning, then dropping down in the afternoon as that ridge moves into 15. 35 knots here for the morning, and then those two will be coming down to 20 or 25 late tomorrow afternoon. West 20 for the peninsula, 9 foot seas. And then for Monday, south, come up to 25 knots there for the Bristol Bay area. Full gales here for the Alaska Peninsula, 45 knots right out of the south, southwest 25 there, Castle Cape to Sitkinak. And for the eastern Aleutians for tomorrow, Sunday, southwest 25, small craft advisories turn into gale force southerlies here for the central Aleutians as that front edges its way eastward, and then back to the southwest 25 to 30 behind the front. For Monday, west to southwest 30 knots here for the Aleutians due to that low center. Small craft advisories eastward there until you reach the front and you still have those 45 knot winds blowing right across or will advance and blow across Unalaska Island with 13 to 18-foot seas. And for the southwest coast, south to southwest at 15. Small craft advisories, south winds 25 there for the Perbilofs right up into St. Matthew Island. And then for Monday, that front pushes eastward. And so tomorrow night, St. Paul, St. George will see their strongest winds and then come down to 25 in the afternoon on Monday with 15-foot seas, 35 to 45 knot winds here for the southwest coast, southeast 30, St. Lawrence Island with 12-foot seas. And up along the Arctic coast, we've got gales out there for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, west 35, 12-foot seas, 30 knots for the central coast, small craft advisories on the west side, diminishing down to 15 there from Wells to Cape Thompson. And for Monday, still small craft advisories coming down under gale force, but still 30 knots out of the west there, 10 to 14-foot seas, high surf advisories actually out only until Monday morning. Lighter winds here to the west, getting kind of squirrely, and then east 15, going back to south at 20 there from Wells to Cape Thompson. And for tonight again, mostly cloudy and showers continue here for the southeast coast, that low just off the coast. This trough, gusty winds, peninsula, should see more rain and showers this evening and tonight than you saw today there. Less of that, almost ending here over the southwest interior with some leftover scattered showers after midnight toward morning up toward the Alaska Range. This front really weakens and all the moisture is left behind or pushes off to the east there by the Brooks Range. Another shot hitting the northwest coast or the western Arctic coast there later tonight. And there's that storm and front there pushing eastward across the Bering tomorrow with the gale force winds into the central Aleutians. High pressure, drier conditions, sunshine, Kodiak Island, partly to mostly sunny south central Alaska, maybe some isolated showers near the mountains. Chance of showers continues for the southeast coast, and it just doesn't want to let go of the southern areas on Monday, but partly sunny elsewhere, sunny over the interior, wind and rain.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX brief for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Alaska Public Media is pleased to present AK Passport, our new on-demand access portal for watching exclusive television programs. A members-only benefit, AK Passport offers an expanded